actor's face is seen here is fired, because that's kind of what happens on this show. A lot of people have been fired previously for speaking out and asking questions, and that's why we decided to come together as a collective and make our voices heard. But that seems to have not worked.
Dhar Mann, his corny after-school special videos, which are such a hit with so many people, are driven by these people who are actors that are hired by him. Go to his YouTube channel, and you can see he has 17.8 million subscribers. He puts up a video, and in 2 hours, he has 283K views. In one day, he has 2 million, 2.1, 3.9 million. Now, the thing about Dhar Mann is, since he has this whole staff working for him, he's able to pump out multiple videos throughout the week. Only he doesn't pay his actors squat. Do a Google search on how much Dhar Mann actors actually get paid, and they're down to approximately $25.74 per hour. Each of his videos are clocking in about 4.7 million views, 7.3 million views, 3.8 million views. If you take it, average it all out, it looks like currently he's getting somewhere around, on a conservative estimate, about 5 million views per video. His actors are making each, let's call it $210 a day. Each of these videos are slapped together in a day. He might have 7 actors. So maybe he's paying out, $1,500 for his staff that day collectively. But he's bringing in $5,000 to $10,000 per video. So he's making quite a hefty profit. This is nothing against the capitalistic efforts of his work. But his actors cannot even pay rent, a lot of them. So his actors have taken to TikTok to speak out. The main reason being, like the opening of this video, what one of his actors had said was that if they were to try to make a meeting with him to maybe talk about things, whatever, he just can them right on the spot. He's one of those jerk employers that he tends to cover in a lot of his videos about bad boss being a jerk to his employee or whatever. Dhar Mann is really shown to be the epitome of that, according to actors who have worked for him. Now, Dhar Mann was pretty well off before he even started YouTube. He's been in real estate. He's had companies, both that have succeeded and have failed. He's had lawsuits filed against him. He's been charged with fraud, having to serve 5 years probation, and paying a $10,000 restitution. But he told the New York Times in 2021 that conviction was expunged. Jessica Ruth Bell, one of his actresses, had requested a meeting with him, and she was immediately canned. And that seemed to have served as a catalyst for motivating these actors to finally just get together and speak out against him and say, you know what, we can't take this anymore. And of course, like my thumbnail, the actors themselves come up with signs like this: multi-millionaire ignores actors, instantly regrets it. Yeah, that seems to be the running theme, because Dhar Mann always has these feel-good stories. In the end, somebody learns a lesson. They started off bad, but then they changed their ways halfway through the video, and at the very end, they turned it around. But, time and time again, we're seeing it. These people, they're amassing a ton of money, and yet they're just not paying their employees anything. As long as their employees are there to absorb it or take it, then they're fine with it. They'll just keep the practice going. And a lot of people are shocked. Some saying he made so many of these videos, his life has turned into one of them. But the estimation of his actual net worth is $150 million. He brings in $3 million every single month. He's a really shrewd businessman. I'll give him that. But where the real outrage is coming from is the fact that he's doing it on the backs of people who he just is not even paying enough for them to sustain their own life. And that doesn't reflect so well on somebody who always puts out material showing good over evil and so on and so forth. So a little interesting history on him. He was born in 1984. He remembers living in an apartment with a couple other families when he was young. That's because his parents were saving as much as they possibly could on their businesses. According to him, his parents didn't spend much time with him, but to placate him, they would give him money. In 2011, he had a pot shop called We Grow, and that's actually where a lot of his legal troubles had started. Nevertheless, though, he soldiered on, got into the entertainment side of things, founded Dhar Mann Studios in 2018. His original content was more based around motivational videos. And then he got into these kind of after-school special type things that he's doing now. He got a contract with a really big agency, creative artist agency, which posted clients of the likes of Will Ferrell and others. And as he blew up on YouTube, he basically became a master of clickbait. Lots of big, bold titles in his videos. The quality of them always seems just kind of slapped together. but he put it together in a very scalable, sustainable way, which really just involves hiring cheap help and smacking together those videos. They didn't really need a whole lot of production value. Just everybody had to get their lines and kind of act out the parts, and boom, there you go. You got one video. Okay, let's go on to the next one. And for that, I applaud him. But I don't applaud him for treating his employees the way he does. And that's kind of been the shocker as of late. So I just had to cover this because really, at this point, I don't think anybody should be able to get away with that. At least make working conditions decent. At least pay your actors decently, especially if they're the ones who are actually driving this video. Which leads me to another point, is that probably a lot of these actors also were hoping that they would get exposure out of it. I've had exposure, okay? I've got some videos with hundreds of thousands of views on them. I've played for audiences as big as 25,000 people. And I'll be the first one to tell you that exposure and $1 will not get you a cup of coffee at a Starbucks. Exposure is overrated. Yeah, it's great, I suppose, if you're paid by the exposure. But these people weren't. They were paid by the hour so that Dhar Mann, his videos, could actually get the exposure. The paid exposure is what we're talking about. When I played for an audience of 25,000 people, each time I was just paid a flat rate to play for them. The singer I was working for was getting paid by the head. And very much like these actors, I could totally relate, because I was sometimes having trouble struggling to put money towards bills and food and whatever else, as were my fellow bandmates in the group. And yet this singer would get out there and he'd bring home 30 to 70 grand a gig. And during those days, I always just thought, the exposure, if I play these shows really well, looking cool on stage, doing all that, somebody's going to discover me, But there's no real such thing as being discovered these days. It's not like, the 1940s or 50s. And even then, getting discovered wasn't as easy as the way they portrayed it to be. And I think this reality kind of smacked their actors upside the head when they started realizing that, hey, we're doing all these videos, we're not getting paid crap, nothing else is really coming out of this whole thing, and we could barely pay our bills. And I do sympathize with them. Now, I could recommend, you could do like I did, go to university and get an engineering degree and just get out of all that stuff and then maybe make some videos on the side for the fun of it. It's worked out for me. I like it. I like doing it that way, and it's certainly better than fighting for a paycheck every week, hustling up as many guitar students and gigs as I could possibly put together. That's just no way to conduct your life. It'll drive you crazy. I don't recommend it. But nevertheless, I wish the best for these actors. I certainly hope that they can get to the next echelon. I also hope that, if they decide they're going to take action or whatever, I hope they prevail in some way, shape, or form and teach Dhar Mann a lesson. Maybe Dhar Mann will then live to regret it. Who knows? Nevertheless, I want to thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. You are now in the family.